I go to Provo for the game on Wednesday night. I get there last Tuesday. Now, this is working with NBC this year. ESPN doesn't have as many Big 12 games, right? But NBC does. I shouldn't say NBC doesn't have as many Big 12 games as ESPN did, but they have a bunch. And, it was really cool to get the opportunity calling games for NBC now, some games, to do a Big 12 game, particularly to do a game at BYU. It was amazing to see. So I did the game with Brendan Haywood, right? Brendan Haywood's a phenomenal athlete. Phenomenal. I meant to say he still is probably a phenomenal athlete. He's a phenomenal analyst. He's like very, very good. He called the NCAA tournament last year for CBS. Like the guy is really at the top of his game and at the top of his profession. And his career took him from every crazy environment in the ACC, right, Carolina Duke, to every wild environment in the NBA, right? He won a championship with Dallas. He was on some of those Wizards teams that, went toe-to-toe with the Cavs and the Bulls in the playoffs. Like, the guy has seen it all. And I was anxious to get his reaction to the crowd in Provo because I can tell you, having called games in the Big 12 for years, I was out there doing games before Mark Pope really, started to have it hitting on all cylinders, like as he grew, right, as the pendulum swung. And by the way, it still has not swung back, right? This program is the exact opposite of what I was just talking about with Baylor. Like, clearly they have figured out a way to navigate this NIL space, right? And the crowd, though, hasn't changed. The people haven't changed. And it's really been fun to see, okay, now you've got AJ Dybantsa. Now you've got Robert Wright III, who, by the way, for the record, I went down to the floor before the game. I said, "What's up, Rob?" Because, we got like the Philly thing going. He knows I'm from Philly, and we've talked a little bit before. I was like, "Yo, can I call you Rob Wright?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't care." I was like, "So there's no, like, you don't want Robert Wright III?" He's like, "No, I do not care." I was like, "You swear you don't care?" He's like, "I don't care." He was probably thinking, "Get away from me. I'm trying to warm up." But I was like, all right. And so that's the word on that, right? From the horse's mouth. Okay. And you factor in Richie Saunders and his development, right? Since Kevin Young has gotten to Provo, he legit, and we talked to Kevin Young about this. He told Richie Saunders, "Hey, dude, you can play in the NBA." And it's wild in life and in coaching, obviously, and in being a player. When somebody believes in you, it can flip a switch. And it's very clear that since Kevin Young got that job at BYU and looked Richie Saunders in the eyes and said, "You can play in the NBA," something happened. And Richie Saunders now is one of the best players in college basketball. Okay? Like, that is something you need to take into consideration. Amazing development. So you've got Debansa, Wright, Saunders, and an amazing supporting cast. And you have an environment that is terrifying to play in. And it's also jarring. I don't know that any kid that grew up in, let's say, Chicago or New York City or Philly, for that matter. Rob talks about Rob Wright, the first trip he took to Provo last year with Baylor. You're not ready for that environment. You're not ready to shoot into a student section with like a gazillion hands and those things that spin around that make you dizzy. I mean, it is a scene, dude. And I was so proud that it lived up to expectations because I told Brendan, I said, "Look, I'm going to ask you in the open what you think about this environment." And right now, this is like 10 minutes before the game. I said, "Right now, it's not reflective of what it's going to be like, but I'm asking you that." And boy, I asked him that, and it was a genuine, authentic answer. He was shocked in the best way possible. One thing about Rob, this is like a little inside baseball, and we'll wrap up here because I know Cam has a show to do, and everybody's got to get on with their life. But Rob is like kind of like one of the cool kids now, and this is what I mean. Like, when he's always going to be super nice because that's who he is. He's always going to be a really good person because that's who he is. Like, trust me, he is from many sources. But I went down to talk to him, and like he's with AJ Dybantsa, and they're like the cool kids. You know what I mean? Like, so I go up to Rob and I talk to him. I ask him about his name. He had already said hi to me at shoot around. So he's probably like, all right, enough of this guy. And then he's with AJ. And I said something to AJ. And AJ was nice, but he was like, you know, that's the kind of guy, like everybody's pulling at him. So he was kind of like, yeah, like I was like, and Rob is kind of like, you know, with AJ now, I felt like an outsider, which I was, and am around players of that ilk and being young kids. But for me, I was like, oh man, like this is like back my freshman and sophomore year in high school when I was really skinny and had big ears, and you know, no girls would talk to me, and like I just saw those dudes are the coolest guys on the block, to the point where it's a little intimidating. They're both great people. By the way, I got a chance to talk to AJ's dad, Ace. It's no surprise this is such an amazing young man, and he's been able to handle all this stuff and be unflappable as he has been. His dad was 20 years as a cop in Boston, at Boston University. He grew up in Brockton. His mother and his father live in Provo with him, with his little sister, who's a volleyball star. But they're just like great people. His dad is like this amazing, charismatic guy who is not like your typical sports dad, right? What do they call it? Like a manager or a momager or something like that?
Oh, I thought you were going with like helicopter parent.
Helicopter parent, yeah. Cam, you sent me a text. What is this?
Oh, that's for later. I did want to add a note, though, about Rob Wright, as you're kind of talking about BYU and the whole intimidating atmosphere. Don't know if you remember, last year, Baylor played there and lost in overtime. Rob Wright hit 2 free throws to send it to OT with like 4 seconds left in the game. It was the last possession. That place gets nuts. But anyway, helicopter parent.
By the way, Drake Toll, I was talking to Jake Hatch out there from Locked On, and it's like, you know, Drake is going out there, but it's like, I mean, you know, Hatch is so in on Drake, and so am I. Yeah. But I was like, dude, if you talk to Toll, and he's like, it was like, stop the presses. Oh, yeah. He's coming out here. Drake's coming out here for like a couple of, like, Drake Toll is amazing. Like, he is like, he's probably doing shows from like the top of the mountain where the Y is. Like who knows with that cat, you know, but like, his reputation and presence precedes him, particularly in Provo. You know? Yeah. Yep. But the BYU trip was amazing. There's actually another wrinkle to it that I'll tell people at some point. Like, we didn't have a show on Thursday or Friday because I had like a bit of a medical episode. I'm doing all right. But we'll share it at some time, because now that everything is okay, it's a pretty good story. But we don't have time today. We do have time to say goodbye. The Pete Souza Show is back tomorrow. I think we may be talking to Christian Fourier again. On Wednesday, I know we're talking to Babe Laufenberg. By the way, I've still been wearing it, baby. This is the shit right here. Live like Luke, right? Look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. And join us Wednesday. I'll give you more insight when we talk to Babe Laufenberg. The Pete Souza Show is presented by Savachix. Thank you, Cam. Thank you, Chris Visser. Man, thank you, Chris Myers. An amazing interview. We're going to put all this stuff up on YouTube so you can check it out. Like, subscribe, the whole deal. We'll see you tomorrow.